All right, so this next video that we're putting out is about our BG oil service, and this is something that we've been using on quite a few vehicles lately. Just kind of wanted to do a longer, more involved video that basically just shows exactly the process and the benefits of the service. And the video shows the process very well, and my buddy Ray goes through some of the advantages of it. I just want to take a quick minute before the video starts and just point out some of the reasons why we need to do this kind of stuff nowadays. So with cars, as they age, they build up sludge, oil deposits, in the oil, in the valleys, in the crevices, in the passages. And this product that we've been using does a terrific job of clearing out the deposits. It helps free up the piston rings. It's just phenomenal. And with the way that cars are going, especially, there's a ton of advantages for older cars, but it's also really advantageous for newer cars, cars that have cylinder deactivation. That's achieved through oil pressure passages. Cars that have turbochargers on them, because again, they use a lot of little passages. There's a lot of little tiny micro filters in oil systems, specifically on Subarus. Subarus are notorious for having these little tiny filters in the cylinder heads that get clogged. This product is going to get in there and help clean all that up. And basically, it's just protecting your engine from itself, really, is what it is. So without going into too much detail, it's a service we offer. It's a service I believe in, and I love this service because, as you'll see in the video, there are tangible results. Like, we can do an A/B comparison where we test the car before, we do a cylinder compression test, we perform the service, and then we do another compression test, and you'll see that we gain compression. So the result, the proof is in the results. So it's not like a magic snake oil thing or anything like that. So like I said, it is a longer video, so I am going to stop talking. But if you want to understand what this service is, you want to do a better maintenance on your car, there are products out there that we have done the R&D for, and we've done the research for, and we believe in it because we can see the tangible results. So without further ado, I'm going to cut into the video, and let me know what you guys think. Thanks, guys. All right, so we are going to do the BG. We're here with Ray of BG Products. You guys might remember from our last video, but anyway, we are going to do the BG oil service that we're selling here at Undisputed. This is my wife's car. It's got about 157,000 miles on it. It's our daily driver up and down the East Coast. So to start, we're going to do a compression test on this one bank and get a baseline. Then we're going to do the oil service, and then we're going to redo the compression test and just see what kind of compression we pick up after doing the service. And that's just the immediate benefit. So we're going to start doing the compression test. I'll show you our before numbers here in a minute, and then we'll get on and we'll be back in a second. All right, so we're doing a compression test down here. You can see what we've got is, here's the gauge, okay? And that is, you can't really see, but it goes down into the cylinder, and Ray's gonna crank it, and we're gonna see what kind of pressure we got. Go ahead, Ray. Ready? Yep. So we've got 150-ish PSI on this thing as our baseline. There we go. So now we've done our compression test. We've got our baseline compression understood. We are going to add the fluids, and then we're gonna let it run. So I'm gonna go over this briefly and make sure I understand how this works, and then you're gonna correct everything I get wrong. This is the EPR, so this is the cleaning agent, right? We're gonna pour this in, we're gonna let it run for 30 minutes, and then we're gonna drain it out. And that's gonna clean all the gunk out. Then we take the MOA. The MOA is like a conditioner. So after you use like a harsh cleaning agent, this goes in with your fresh oil, kind of just make sure everything's cool. And then after the oil change also, we put a can of 44K into the gas tank, and this just helps clean the fuel system and stuff like that. Make sure we're getting the most service possible, make sure everything's right. Correct?
Can I elaborate on a couple things? There's a couple words I heard I didn't like. One was harsh. EPR really isn't a harsh cleaner. This is actually a petroleum-based detergent, so it's oil-based. So you're not going to risk any damage putting this in your engine. A lot of people have a bad taste in their mouth. They've heard something horrible. So this happened. I did an engine flush at Sears 20 years ago, and then my engine needed to be replaced. This is not that. You can literally put this in the engine and forget about it, and you're not going to cause damage to the engine. We're going to put it in the car. We're going to raise the idle on the car, let it circulate throughout the oil system, and this is going to free up and suspend any of the deposits that are in there.
Okay.
So the analogy I always make for this is anybody who has kids knows that if you put your dirty kids in the bathtub, they play in the bathtub, they've got the markers and the colors and everything, decorate the bathtub now, and then you drain out the water, all that stuff, all the filth from the kids and all the marker stuff is still stuck on the tub.
Yeah.
Right after all the water drains out. If you think about it this way, this is going to suspend all that stuff so it comes out with the water. So now when you're changing the oil, you're actually getting all that buildup out instead of just letting this sit there. Now don't use this in your kid's bathtub, though. That'd be a horrible, horrible idea.
And was that right on that?
MOA, yes. MOA is a conditioner. It's got a lot of different additive properties in this: anti-foam agents, anti-wear agents, anti-corrosion agents. This is going to make sure that everything that was just freed up by this, your piston rings and any deposits you may have on the bottom end, this is going to make sure they stay lubricated free and allow the oil to do its job and keep any of the deposits that are coming suspended in the oil as you move forward.
Okay.
44K is a fuel system cleaner. This goes in your fuel tank, treats the entire tank of gas, and now we're cleaning all the way from our gas tank all the way through our fuel pump, through our fuel filters, through our fuel injectors. If you have a high pressure system, it's going to clean the high pressure fuel pump as well, going in the combustion chamber, cleaning the combustion chamber, and going right out the exhaust. It's depositing everything, relieving everything safely. We're not causing damage, causing chunks to break off or having damage, but rather be dispelled through the system cleanly. So yeah, this goes actually in with your old oil. You can probably smell it if you had smell-o-vision on that camera. Old oil, old filter. We're going to let the car run at a raised idle for 15 minutes once it's warmed up. Take these off so they don't fall off.
Alright, so now it's run for about 15-20 minutes. We're going to turn it off and then drain the oil, put fresh oil in it, and add the 44K. We're just back to add the 44 or the MOA. We'll do the MOA and the 44K after the oil change. All right, so the oil change is done. We are putting our AMSOIL in this car, and then we are going to add the MOA. MOA just goes in with the oil. Okay, we'll let that drain. And then the 44K would come around to the gas. Cap, follow me. Of course, it's on the other side. Open up the gas cap, 44K. This goes right in there. Ray, how much gas should we have in this tank? Half tank to full?
It treats a full tank.
Okay. So after these services, we'll recommend that you just go to the gas station and just fill up.
If you have a completely empty tank, sometimes you might want to leave it on the customer seat and tell them next time you get gas, put this in before you get the gas.
Perfect. So what we're gonna do now is clean all this up. We're gonna let it run for a minute, and then we're gonna come back and do another compression test. We'll show you that. All right, so we did the compression test afterwards. We got 165 across the board approximately. So pick up a 15 PSI, which is pretty decent. This car, it's very well maintained. On a lesser maintained vehicle, or if you had a new vehicle that you didn't know the history on, it's another great service for that. But picking up 15 PSI is great in my opinion. So Ray, you got anything you want to say at the end there?
Yeah, with ours we had fairly consistent raise in PSI across the board, oftentimes we'll see uneven compression, and this will also help level that out. Some engines it's easier to see in others, and this one, like you said, this one's a fairly well-maintained engine, so things actually came up pretty significantly and even. But there are a lot of reasons why, and you might be wondering, hey, how can cleaning the engine oil increase my compression? Well, what it's really cleaning up is your piston rings. And on newer vehicles, even newer than this one, now this car is what, 12, 13 years old almost?
This is 13-year-old.
Yeah, on even newer vehicles, our piston rings are getting smaller and smaller and less tension. And that improves gas mileage, but that also lowers more blow-by, and we have more piston rings getting gummed up because of it. So as the engines get smaller and more efficient, this will help keep them cleaner and working the proper way.
Same thing with turbocharged engines becoming more common.
Absolutely.
Variable valve technology. You know, you have a lot of small oil passages. You know, like lots of vehicles, Subaru specifically, they have those little tiny screen filters in there, so you get a lot of deposits building up in those where you get oil starvation to certain parts of the engine. You know, these engines are just getting smaller and smaller, and oil is becoming more and more important. So, and making sure that not just the oil you're using is high quality and you're maintaining it, getting rid of the deposits, and you know, it's just that much more important. You know, overall.
The technology has gotten better and better on vehicles. Right. They're more and more efficient. Manufacturers in some cases are suggesting that we go longer and longer intervals between the services, but all of that being encountered, we're seeing more and more failures of components. We're seeing things start to break down more regularly when they're not maintained properly. So just because the car has this great technology in it, it's also counteractive to the idea that you have to maintain it properly.
Okay.
So.
Yeah, and so in closing, if you've made it to this point in the video, congratulations. This will probably be the longest video that we put out. If you do this service between 0 and 50,000 miles, you get a $4,000 warranty.
If you're using EPR, it's actually a $6,000 warranty.
$6,000 warranty on your engine components.
On all your engine components. If we're using 44K with it, as we did on this vehicle, your fuel system cleaner. So everything oil lubricated inside the engine is getting covered, okay? Turbo bearings, if you have a turbocharger, your turbocharger is essentially covered at that point. Now, because we're using 44K, that's also covering your fuel injectors, oxygen sensors, and PCV. We're putting a warranty out on that in the amount of $6,000 until the next service is due. So next time you did it, you can continue that for life again.
And then if your vehicle is at 50,000 to 100,000,
at the first time you did the service,
first time you do the service, then you get
$3,000, which is still plenty enough to cover oxygen sensors and many of the components inside an engine should they need to be replaced.
Exactly. And then once you do this service once, it's how frequently do you have to do it to maintain the warranty?
Well, it's recommended every oil change. Now, oil change intervals on some of the newer cars go up to 10,000 miles, and we will cover up to 10,000 miles on those vehicles, but it is required every oil change.
MOA.
MOA.
Okay. Oh, what about the EPR?
When we're using the EPR, that's actually increasing the dollar amount. So, as you said, originally we have $4,000 and $2,000. If you're using EPR with it, it goes to $6,000 and $3,000.
All right, and that's in every oil change.
And that would be every.
Okay, cool. All right, well, cool. That's the BG EPR service in a nutshell. You know, this is our video to kind of explain how it works, give you a little visual demonstration. That's how you know, I was sold on it. I mean, the numbers don't lie. And thanks, Ray, for coming out.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Being a part of Under the Hood.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir. Hey, Ray, tell me about oil consumption real quick.
Okay, we were talking about EPR and the benefits of it and what happens and why we're having that boosted compression. With the newer vehicles, as I was talking about with lower tension piston rings, we see more oil evaporation. We have oil dilution, and cars are running out of oil. Now, if the oil's not leaking out onto the floor because there's a seal leaking, it's going somewhere. Well, where's it going? It's probably going out your tailpipe, because what it's doing is it's getting into the combustion chamber where it's not supposed to be. It's burning and it's coming out. It's clogging up your catalytic converter. It's putting deposits on your oxygen sensors. It's causing failures there, and it's going out your tailpipe. And your result is damaged components all the way downstream, and you also have a car that's running low on oil. Well, what EPR is doing is it's freeing up those piston rings. So if you're having an oil loss or oil consumption problem, EPR is a great place to start to make sure that we can free up those piston rings before we say, hey, you need to replace an engine, or you need a re-ring, or you need any other component whatsoever. You really want to start with getting your maintenance to where it should be and making sure that the components are clean. And EPR and MOA and 44K is the way to do it.
Yeah, actually, I got a client with a Volvo that we're doing that right now. They came in, they were told they needed an engine because of oil consumption. We did the oil service that we just did right here, and we're monitoring their oil level, and so far so good. We have had substantial reduction in oil consumption. So just another benefit / byproduct / application for using this type of service. All right, on that note, we are done.